What's up, guys? Welcome back to the art room. We're doing some wildlife today. I wanted to draw a large moose standing out in the middle of a foggy field, really focusing on pushing that soft, hazy background so the animal just pops right off the paper. So my paper is already nice and toned, and just like always, I'm starting out by dropping in the horizon. But since we're drawing a bright snowy field today, I'm actually taking my eraser to carve it out instead of adding more charcoal. Alright, so the horizon is good to go. Now I'm going straight in with my charcoal stick to block out the big dark areas. I'm not worried about fur or details right now, just dropping in the heavy shape of the moose and those darker distant trees. And now for the messy part, I'm just getting right in there with my fingers to smear all these dark areas we just blocked in. It completely kills that rough paper texture and gives us a really solid, smooth base for the moose. I like using my bare hands for this, but if you aren't a fan of getting charcoal everywhere, you can absolutely throw on some gloves. Now I'm grabbing my carbon pencil to clean up the moose and bring out some of those finer details. I normally start with the background and work my way forward, but this guy is the absolute star of the show. I wanted to get his silhouette completely sharp right out of the gate, so I know exactly how to wrap that heavy fog around him later. Time for my favorite part, grabbing the Mono Zero eraser to hit these fine highlights on the moose. If you've never heard of subtractive drawing, this is exactly what it is. You lay down a massive block of heavy darks, and then you subtract it away with your eraser to reveal the form. It honestly feels a lot more like carving than actual drawing. I'm using a blending stump right now to draw in the antlers. I want to keep that soft, organic look, and since the stump already has some charcoal dust loaded up on it, it's the best tool for the job. It lets me softly blend the edges without leaving any heavy, distracting marks on the paper. Another tool I highly recommend having on hand is a chamois. I'm taking it to the sky right now, just gently wiping away some of that toned background. It pulls up the powder so softly and really helps push that heavy, foggy feeling behind the moose. Something else I really like using is just regular tissue paper for blending. I'm going back over the areas I just lifted with the chamois and softly buffing them out. It melts those edges together beautifully and gives the whole background that nice, soft, hazy look we are going for. All right, back to the blending stump. Now I'm working on those trees way back in the distance. The stump allows me to draw them in nice and faded, which completely sells the illusion that they're pushed miles away into the fog. I'm switching back to my compressed charcoal stick to give this guy a little more shape. I'm just hitting the absolute darkest shadowy areas on his body right now. Pushing those darks is the secret to giving him that 3D form and dimension, turning him from a flat silhouette into a massive animal standing in the field. Alright, I'm bringing the Mono Zero eraser back in for these final details on the moose. We are on the last layer here, and picking out these little highlights is really what makes him pop off the page. It just catches the light perfectly and gives that heavy fur a much more realistic, textured look. I'm switching over to my carbon pencil now to hit some of these finer, dark details up on the antlers. The compressed charcoal is just a bit too thick for this, so the carbon pencil lets me get right in there and sharpen things up. Let's take the Mono Zero and wrap up this fur. I'm just pulling out those final highlights and making sure the texture feels thick and heavy. It's really about taking your time here and letting those bright spots make him pop right off the page. Alright guys, that is going to wrap it up for this massive moose. I really hope you enjoyed hanging out and watching this one come together. If you want to try something like this out yourself, all the charcoal and tools I used today are linked right down in the description. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more drawings like this. I'll catch you guys in the next one.